Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into how businesses try to predict the future. And you'll see, it's a journey from looking at an old, faded snapshot to watching a live, high-def security camera.
Okay, let's start with the big one. The question that keeps every single business leader up at night. What is coming around the corner, and are we actually ready for it? For the longest time, the main tool for this was a static budget. Just think of it like taking a single photograph on January 1st. It's a moment in time, sure, but it's out of date the second you take it. The world changes. The modern way of thinking is so much better. It's like having a live security feed, constantly scanning, constantly updating, and letting you react to things as they happen.
So to really get how this all works, we've got to start with the two classic, in kind of opposite ways, companies have traditionally tried to do this. First up, you've got top-down forecasting. This is the 30,000-foot airplane view. Leadership looks at the huge picture, the whole market, the economy, their big strategic dreams, and from way up there they say, all right, team, based on everything, our target is X. Then they take that massive number and start chopping it up, handing out pieces to every department. Now, there's a huge trade-off here, right? On one hand, it's super fast, and hey, everyone is aligned on that big, shiny goal. But on the other hand, it can be totally disconnected from what's actually possible on the ground, leading to these wildly unrealistic targets that just demotivate everyone. And then you've got the total opposite, the bottom-up approach. This is the street view. Forget the airplane, we're talking boots on the ground. Instead of starting with a big number, you go to the frontline folks, your sales team, your operations people, and you ask them, hey, what can you really deliver? Then you take all those little detailed promises and add them all up. So the upside here is pretty clear. You get a forecast that's incredibly detailed, and since the team built it, they feel ownership. But, and this is a big but, it can be painfully slow. And you run into this classic human problem called sandbagging, where people lowball their estimates just to make sure they can hit their numbers easily. So you see the problem, right? You have these two methods trying to answer the exact same question, but they're starting in completely different universes. Top-down is all about big strategy and alignment. Bottom-up is all about ground-level reality and what's feasible. So how in the world do you bridge that gap between the big dream and the daily grind? Well, that's where a much smarter, more modern approach comes into play. It's called driver-based forecasting, and it's the engine that connects everything. Driver-based forecasting, or DBF for short, totally changes the game. Instead of just trying to guess the final number, like revenue, it focuses on the why. It forces you to identify the specific, measurable business activities, the drivers that actually create that revenue in the first place. It's built on a logic that's actually super simple, but so powerful. For instance, instead of just forecasting revenue, you forecast the number of customers you think you'll get and how much each one will probably spend. The revenue? That's just the result of the equation. This turns your forecast from a static number into a living, breathing model of your business. And this is where the magic really happens. You figure out what levers actually move the needle in your business. You link them up with simple formulas. And then you can start playing. What if we increased our ad spend by 10%? How many more customers does that get us? You can pull a lever and see the financial impact instantly. It's awesome. And these drivers can be pretty much anything. Some are internal things you can actually control, like your marketing budget or your pricing, but others are external forces you just have to react to, like a competitor suddenly slashing their prices. A really good model tracks both. Okay, so let's put this into practice. Let's see how all these pieces come together to solve that classic standoff between the optimistic executive and the realistic frontline manager. So picture this. The board meeting ends. The CEO does their top-down analysis and declares, this year, people, we are hitting $100 million in revenue. It's big, it's bold, it's inspiring. Meanwhile, you go down to the sales floor. The teams are doing their bottom-up forecast. They're looking at their real pipelines, their actual capacity, and they come back with a number they feel good about, $80 million. And boom, there it is, the $20 million gap between ambition and reality. It happens in every single company. So the big question is, who's right, the CEO or the sales team? Well, here's the beautiful part. With driver-based forecasting, it stops mattering who is right. The conversation completely shifts. It's no longer an argument about a number. It becomes a collaborative, problem-solving session about, okay, we have a $20 million gap. What drivers can we pull? What levers can we adjust to close it?
And what all this really shows us is that there's no single perfect method. The real goal is to build a flexible financial toolkit and to know exactly which tool to pull out for the right job.
You know, the right approach really just depends on your company's situation. If you're a brand new startup with zero historical data, a top-down forecast is probably your best bet. But if you're a big mature business, a hybrid model that blends all these ideas together is going to give you the sharpest, most actionable picture of the future.
At the end of the day, it's all about finding that balance. The absolute best forecast is one that's ambitious enough to push the organization forward, but also grounded enough in reality to be feasible. And it's all powered by everyone having a shared understanding of what actually makes the business tick.
So, I'll leave you with this question to chew on. This way of thinking, it's not just for big shot CFOs. Forget corporate finance for a second. In your own work, in your projects, even in your personal goals, what are the key drivers you could start tracking to better predict your own success?